Hello guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. Good to see you. How you doing? We hope you had an amazing week. Glad to be back on this new episode, and we have something exciting for you. Hello Mavi, how you doing?
Hi.
How's it going today?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Hello, everybody.
Good. Excited to get going. You know.
Absolutely.
I think that
as always.
I think the part 2 that we're about to get into would be quite, a moment of bridging the gap. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's something that might come out of this.
Yeah, we left a lot to be said from the last episode anyway. So this would be the little tying up loose ends from last episode, talking about the older versus the younger, like we said.
Yeah.
So let me tell you what we're talking about today. If you remember last week, we started talking about character flaws. Well, today we're actually going to pick out a couple of these characters or personalities and really go in depth into different characters, how they are formed over time, what differences between the older and younger generation. So without any further ado, our topic for today is the shy versus the overconfident generation.
Sounds interesting already. I'm sure you are curious already.
So I like this one because I consider myself to be shy, but people consider me to be the opposite. Not overconfident, but confident.
Well,
so that's fun. We'll trash that today.
Yeah.
So we'll go right into them.
Yeah. So we talked about 2 generations now. One that is shy or perceived to be, shy, and one perceived to be outspoken.
Yeah.
I allow you to guess who is who. Whether the younger, which side the younger
that's
is.
very easy to guess.
Yeah, which one the older is. But I'm sure that whichever you belong to, you kind of know. Which is which. So, but the older generation definitely mostly perceived as the shy generation.
Yeah.
And
more
the
reserved.
more reserved, more calculative, and And then the younger generation are perceived to be more outspoken.
Overconfident sometimes. I love those tendencies.
Yeah. So, those are the 2 generations. So the question is, why does it feel that way, for both generations? Why does it feel that way? That, it feels like the older generation are more shy, more reserved, more...
I know that this is pushing it, and I get it. I'm not trying to doubt your grammatic capabilities, but I'm just feeling like maybe we should put perspective to what we are referring to as shy, reserved, and what we're referring to as confident.
Okay. I'm not calling me out to define this.
I am actually doing that. David knows me too well at this point. That's exactly my game plan. So Dami,
guys, see what's happening to me.
He made me define last week. So it's just right, isn't it? My subscribers, please click that subscribe button.
I know that there's a faction of the subscribers that are on my side. So please, wage war in the comment section.
Wage war? When did we start doing this?
I'll fight for me.
Plead my cause, guys. Please. So Dabi, what is confidence?
Okay, so just to bring a bit of perspective to the shy and the confidence. Confidence is, a feeling of sureness about oneself.
Yep.
I want it to be that simple. That sureness about yourself is produced by self-awareness.
Yeah.
Self-confidence, self-love.
Self-love, very important. So
when those things are healthy, you have a good self-esteem.
Absolutely, because you're basically, it's that knowledge, that inner knowledge.
Yeah.
Note the word inner, please. That inner knowledge of one's capabilities. You are capable. That's what it is. Yeah. So self-love is definitely a foundation for that.
Yeah.
So how about shy then?
So shy now, shy is the intentional attitude to be reserved Now I use the word intentional attitude to be reserved because it's not necessarily, a reflection of a lack of being able to speak or being confident, but it's an intention to withhold, to hold back, oftentimes to be withdrawn, sometimes, it's perceived as the attitude of not being able to express oneself.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I would think of it as more of a feeling of apprehension than it is.
Not being able to express oneself.
Because I think it's mostly characterized by excessive self-consciousness, timidity,
exactly,
rather than being withdrawn. But I feel like in the context of today's topic, just like Damia said, it's basically you know what to say, you have what to say, but you would rather withdraw.
More often than not, you always choose withdraw rather than expression.
So more of the intentional tendency to withdraw rather than to be very expressive. So that's what we're looking. That's the context we're looking at it from today, rather than
timidity.
The usual timidity. Rather than the usual timidity.
So we've explained, what the shy generation, which characterizes what most people perceive, the older generation. We'll now go into the why, and why does it feel like the older generation are, why do we characterize them as the shy generation?
So, like we said, let me use the word reserved. So, like we said, it's the fact that they are deliberately withdrawn. I don't know. I think that just comes from experiences. So over time, they have sort of cultivated this tendency to want to think first before leaping into stuff. So they are less, what's that word? Impulsive. They're more calculative. Rather than just leaping into it, which is something the younger generation we take risks. We want to go for it.
Amazing. The only thing I'll add to that, which I actually discovered, was was also the experience of when they came into this world.
So the age.
So there's there are always different things that characterize the different generations: baby boomers, Gen Zs, millennials, and there are always prevalent environmental circumstances when these ones came into the world. During their time, I think they came in for most of them during the time of the war in general, generally in places, and there was a lot of securing yourself first. There was less adventure in the world.
Yes. Much less.
Much less adventure in the world, and more about security, safety, the simple things, the basic, the ABC of life. And so I believe that a lot of them were brought up not so much to be as adventurous as our younger generation is the norm.
Is the norm. Every day is an adventure.
Exactly. So it was more safety, it was more measured, it was more the simple things. And so remember the character we talked about. So that's prevalent situation, environment influenced their habits, which then became their attitude and then their character. So they now, so these things is now natural. So for a lot of them, they were brought up that way, and it just feels natural to them to when there's the need to do 9-10 things, they rather just keep it simple. And just choose to say less than more.
Exactly, and that keeping it simple as well, it also plays into the fact that over time they realized, because like we said, experiences shape a lot of the way that they behave in a reserved manner. So they've realized over time that I can't satisfy everybody, and so their answer to certain things are very simple. Whereas with us, everything has to be complex because we're looking to satisfy every single person as much as we can. So sometimes it makes them seem more mean. So if you just sit back and have a look at our generation today and the things that we are facing in this generation, we realize that it's as a result of everyone wanting to please everyone, which we can't do. It's a very marshmallow way of thinking.
There's the pressure belonging, you know. So the innate desire to belong has always been there in man.
Yeah.
But the medium of expression has been limited in their generation.
Yes.
But in our generation, it is limitless.
It is limitless. Social media, I tell you,
You know,
everyone has an opinion.
You know, for example, you know, that sense of belonging is limitless.
It is.
You know, we also mentioned adventure as well. In their own time, it was also limited. It was within constrained and structured environments.
Very structured.
But our own, we have structured and unstructured. You can, you know, in the press of a button, go from a structured to an unstructured environment. So sometimes the limited bounds, you know, of technology, of opportunities, of what is out there, you know, kind of just, you know, naturally puts you, you know, a tap away from adventure. Right, for our own generation, but for them, it wasn't always that way.
No.
So even if those things are there, it's not in their nature. It's not in their nature to do that.
Yeah. Wow. We're also learning. Even though we seem to be saying these things and it feels like the words are just rolling off our mouths or our tongues, absolutely not. Sometimes it just comes out and I'm like, wait, take a step back and just
have a think.
Reflect on what you just said, and you know, it's huge. It's huge. We go back to our parents, Father versus Pops series as well, where we spoke about relationship between parents and their children. You realize that what we've just said can really help you in relating to your parents as well. Because what you are experiencing now was not what they experienced. It wasn't the way they were trained. And you can't, every time we say, oh, my parents expect me to be what I'm not, they don't understand me, how about they, you know, try and put themselves in my shoes and see that this generation is different from theirs. Well, you also need to put yourself in their shoes. That's how you come to a compromise. You put yourself in their shoes as well and know that they're not very used to all of these things. That it seems like the norm for you. It's natural to you, but it doesn't come natural to them.
Interesting, amazing. And I think in an interesting way, we kind of have gone into the next bit of conversation, which is what's at the root of this perceived shyness, what's at the root of our confidence. And we've kind of mentioned it. In case you missed it out, we talked about technology, we talked about environment, we talked about even the state of the world when they came in. You know, we talked about information, talked about exposure, you know, so all of these things have played a part in contributing to, because shyness and overconfidence are character traits. So pretty much we're explaining how the different things, you know, the part one, the things that influence this character into becoming what the generation is known for. So I think it's up that we just move and now kind of talk about what we can learn from both sides, because we're trying to create a middle ground now where, you know, there's no Superman generation.
No.
There's no super generation.
No one is better than the other.
No one is better, but there are lessons to learn from both sides. You know, and that's what we kind of want to bring into, you know, this that's what the crux of this episode really is about. So do you want to, you know?
Yeah, sure. Let me start with the shy generation or the reserved generation. I love them. And sometimes I've realized in my life that, just like we spoke about character in the last episode, I've imbibed some of their ways of life. So I can be very reserved. That doesn't mean that I'm not a young girl that's like bubbling on the inside with ideas and creative, you know, but sometimes I just like to be more reserved, more withdrawn. I have a lot to say, guys. Don't even play. This might come as news to some, but I have so much in this head to say, to produce. But sometimes I tend to be a bit more withdrawn because I've seen it work for the older generation. It's not always a bad thing to just take a step back, you know. And sometimes you tend to say the wrong things when you're like outspoken. Overconfidence is a bad thing. It's not a good thing. Let's get that one out of the way. So it is not a good thing at all. But being confident is a good thing. And as a confident person, you know your worth. You don't need to always explain yourself. You don't need to always be outspoken and say, hey, I'm a confident person, I have what to offer. Take a step back and let others recognize you know what you are. Sometimes it's better like that than having to be the one to say it out yourself. To be fair,
Yeah.
but I love the reserve generation.
You
So
can see
clearly,
she's a fan of the reserve generation.
I am, and it shows. Even when I'm in school, you know, I have a lot to say, but I don't always say.
Yeah.
I don't always say, but I remember telling Dami that the first time I ever stood up to answer a question in class, I don't mean to blow my horn or anything, but people were impressed, and it was. In fact, I was shocked at their own reaction. I was like, wow, am I that bad? Like, do I actually know? Somebody actually asked me, that's how your voice sounds? I was like, what? So sometimes it does get to the extreme. Please don't be like me.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
you know, by the time I actually stood up and said something that carried such substance, you know, people were impressed. They began clapping. I received a sitting ovation. Nobody stood for me, please. I received a sitting ovation. The lecturer was amazed. You know, she tended more to asking me questions all through the class because she wanted to hear.
Get you to speak.
You know, because she felt like there's such substance. She wants to hear more. But if I was that person that's always speaking, sometimes even with substance, you just get tired of hearing their voices.
Yeah.
No offense. But that's only for people that are overly outspoken. If you're an outspoken person, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. Amazing.
So I'll leave the confident generation for Dami.
Yeah, well, so I'll take it up from what she ended with. Something that the reserve generation can learn from the, you know,
Confident.
the confident generation.
Yeah.
Is that the life that you have experienced has allowed you to aggregate wisdom. You know, and that aggregated wisdom, you know, when transferred, would inform better living.
Yeah.
Now I've realized that, you know, this reservation has often hampered the transition of wisdom that could actually make for a more developed, you know, people, society, you know, system, family, business, all of these things. When we say, knowledge is lost, somebody died, you didn't transfer knowledge. You know, breaking it down to simple terms, you know. So that reservation and that reserved nature has often, you know, stopped that generation from being able to give the best of themselves, which is their experiences. You know, for the younger generation, if the younger generation had, you know, have the opportunity to pick up on so many of these things that, you know, this generation have lived, we will live better. You know, we will do a lot greater things, and even I think it will also help our character as well, which, you know, we said, you know, might be areas where we need to work on, you know, because if we see how people have lived, you know, those, you know, within our generation who we see who, you know, act in a certain way is because they had mentors from this generation who they've patterned their life, not as the word is, but patterned it to, you know, these people who are exemplary, you know. So I think if the older generation speak more and pass on this wisdom, you know, it just reminded me of scripture. I love scripture so much. Scripture talks about, you know, the strength, you know, of the young. I mean, the glory of the young is their strength.
Yeah.
You know, but that of, you know, the older people is their gray hair, which is wisdom.
Yeah.
So the reserved generation needs to be more confident in passing on wisdom.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's
You know.
amazing. That's amazing.
And the younger generation need to slow the pace to pick the wisdom.
They need to be more open to picking the wisdom. I was going to say that actually.
Need to be open to pick the wisdom, because the older generation also say sometimes that, you know, imagine the way I'm speaking now, you know, by the time the other generation, for an example, maybe another is speaking, maybe that younger person has made 200 mistakes in that one day, has tried 50 things, rather than sitting down for those 3 hours to have listened and take one step.
Yeah, it's true.
So the younger generation needs to, you know, slow down.
Like once in a while. Chill.
And just learn, sit down and sip in. You know, scripture also says that let the older women teach the younger women. You see, there are several aspects of it that talks about the transfer of wisdom.
Yes.
You know.
And I think that's what's lost, because the older people are reserved. And speaking as a reserved person, we tend to make conclusions. You know, we just look at things, we're like, nah. But because we don't like to engage as much. But when we engage with people, we get to know more about them and realize, you know what, that person is actually not bad. You know, so because the older generation are very reserved, they've made a lot of assumptions about our younger generation. But you can't blame them. Assumptions are still made. Assumptions are still made based on what they see. So I think sometimes it's a matter of the older people just coming out a little bit more from their shells, you know, to teach and engage. To teach that wisdom and transfer that knowledge. And the younger people need to also slow down. When you're too outspoken, sometimes you don't always offer substance. So sometimes slow down when you talk too much, because even scripture says it, in the multitude of words there wanted no sin. Because you're trying to prove a point, you also relax, so that once the older people come out of their shell, we can imbibe that wisdom. But if we're just flying at this pace where they're like, I'm too old for this, please. You know, so sometimes
I can't keep up.
Sometimes it's about that compromise. You know, it's about that compromise.
You know, when you were saying that, to be honest, I just remembered something that, you know, has kind of ticked things for me. You know, so we can deploy our energy, you know, we can divide our energy into decision making and information seeking. Now, decision making is what we are very good at. We do so many things, activities, so we're an activity generation. But we need to, you know, divide that energy that we deploy so much into activity and take more time into information seeking to seek out this generation. Now I'm saying seeking out because they are reserved, but we are adventurous, so we can adventure into their DMs. You know,
we can
adventure into their phones, into their spaces, and get them to open up. And you'll be surprised what you can learn from these people.
You will be. Don't make up your mind that they are old and they don't know what they are talking about. That's a mistake that a lot of youths make. They've been through life. They've made mistakes that you don't have to make, and they've learned things that you can really help you. So please don't make assumptions, don't make conclusions. They are old, they have nothing to offer. That is not true. So like Dami said, adventure into their DMs, and you know, you learn a lot, to be honest. So in our last episode, we promised that we would, you know, speak to you more about the older and the younger generation and talk about our different characters, you know, that are prevalent in this generation. We hope that we've been able to do that for you. If you're not very satisfied, please do let us know, and we'll carry on this topic again. We'll do a reflection first and see if it's something we can talk about again some other time. And if not, and you're just very happy with the episode, still drop a comment for us. It's very encouraging, helps us to, you know, really get up and go for it. I mean, we would get up and go for it anyway, but
I mean, it's good to hear from you as well.
A little feel to know that we're really making an impact would be nice. Thank you so very much for keeping up with us, staying here with us. Dami, do you have anything to say to them?
Oh, well, I guess what I'll say is thank you for staying with us.
Thank you.
If you are not subscribing, you know, by now, do it now. Like, subscribe, comment, share. You know, it reminded me of something I heard. You know, yeah.
Oh God! Bye, guys. Bye. Have a wonderful week.
Have an amazing one.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.